Hey guys, good evening. It is John C Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It's great to be with you, and want to share with you a little more tidbits about tonight because this is our last night for the topic we're talking about, a pretty interesting topic, and that has to deal with something we'll get to in just a minute. But I do want to thank you for being here, whether you're here at 10:27 p.m., 10:27 a.m. Thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate that. Or 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. or whenever you're here. Thank you so much for being here. Or if it's even 12 noon or 12 midnight, thanks so much. So our topic this week is how to resolve conflict. We're on series 3, show 17. By the way, catch my hat in case you guys didn't check the cool hat. It says believe, then it says me, then it says achieve, and then it says .com. Believe me, achieve.com. So our granular topic for tonight is unlocking the conflict code, navigating life's battles. Series 3 means we're in the third year, show 17, episode 7. Wow, that's a lot to digest. All right. So first thing is, there are lots of different types of conflict. The problem is that when we get involved with this conflict, it causes a lot of people to shut down and basically go nowhere or go backwards. So one type of conflict we're going to talk about tonight, and this is wrapping things up tonight, it's person versus technology conflict. So there can be issues with people if they're not tech savvy, having struggles between humanity and the changing realm of technology. Now, I'm not just talking about maybe just using a laptop, or I could be talking about using an iPhone, or it could be talking about using your car, or maybe even using something as simple as a microwave oven. Yes, I said that, a microwave oven. Or maybe you don't even know how to use your thermostat, right? So when we have a conundrum like this between person versus technology, like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna achieve this? So you have a couple choices. One, dumb down technology, which isn't really an option. Number two, ask someone to help you. Do some research, look at a YouTube video, etc., and figure out what you need to do and break that into a small task. So that is the one challenge that happens with people when we talk about person versus technology. They feel like the technology is against them. This is also happening a lot when we think about artificial intelligence. It happens when people don't know. That's the reason why it happens. When people don't know, they start to put up all these walls, and these walls become more than just a barricade. They become a physical, mental, and spiritual total lockdown to people. And you're like, how do you even deal with this? Like person versus technology. I mean, some people can't even figure out how to use a phone, or maybe you've grown up in the world where there was rotary dial, right? I remember that. And so now we have touch tone phones, right? And so the thing about phones is, a lot of people today, if you didn't know how to use a rotary phone, well, people would start dialing, and then they'd pick up the phone, not knowing that you have to pick up the phone first before you dial. So person versus technology conflict is not bad. It's something we need to embrace to be able to move forward and to become a better version of ourselves and help others become better versions of themselves. All right, let's move on to the next type of conflict, and that is an ego conflict. Oh, this is a real doozy because a lot of people don't want to admit that they have an ego conflict. There's a balance between confidence and humility, and they can clash if one happens to get a little bit too sharp. It can affect relationships and many other endeavors. But let's explore this. What is ego conflict? Well, I'm glad you're asking me that. So ego conflict can happen for a lot of reasons. Let's give you some examples of what ego conflict is. So we can talk about conflict because someone doesn't know how to do something, right? And so when that happens, it's like things shut down. They feel that they have to be overpowering to others, or they can't get anywhere in life, right? We all know what an ego is, right? Right. So do you guys know that there are 3 parts of your ego? Do you guys know that? Okay. So there's 3 parts of your ego. And this is according to Freud. There's the id, There's the ego, and there is the super ego. So what's the difference? So the id, according to Freud, is the source of all our psychic energy and the primary component of our personality, right? Okay. That's very important. It's also the part that drives our pleasure. The ego, okay, according to Freud, is the part that has to deal with impulses in a manner that is acceptable in the real world. The ego functions in the conscious, preconscious, and the unconscious mind. The ego is the personality component responsible for dealing with reality. The superego, according to Freud, begins to emerge at around age 5, and it holds the internalized moral standards and ideals that we acquire from our parents and society and our sense of right and wrong. So again, we have 3 parts to the ego. We have the id, which is the source of all psychic energy and the one where all the pleasure comes from. We have the ego, which deals with the impulses that can be expressed in a manner acceptable in the real world. And it's in the conscious, preconscious, and unconscious, right? And then we have the superego, which emerges around age 5, and it holds the internalized moral standards and ideals that we acquire from our parents and society, our sense of right and wrong. So thinking about ego and thinking about conflict, I think, can be a big challenge for a lot of people. But whenever you hear the word conflict, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm in conflict right now. So what am I going to do because I'm suddenly in conflict? Do I just stop everything so I'm out of conflict? No. What we have to realize is that where we are, okay, and where the world is and where other people are, they're going to be at different points. And when they're at different points, sometimes if you're not at the level someone else is at, or they're not where we are at, they're going to try to take us off our game. And by taking us off our game, they're going to hope that we change our perspective to theirs. That's not healthy, because if we do that all the time, we're going to lose our identity for who we are as a person and not be able to do anything. So ego is very, very important. Let's jump to something also important, which is called role conflict. This is very important when we think about conflict in life. So what is role conflict? So it occurs when there are incompatible demands placed upon a person having to do with their job or their position. It occurs when there could be a specific demand, and this conflict will take them away from what they really need to do. So the definition of a role conflict can be a little confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Think of something whereby maybe you're I'll take something very simple. Everybody today probably is involved with some type of studying, whether they're in school or whether they've graduated. We're always learning. So let's say that you need to study, but let's say that your buddies who are having a bachelor party or whatever want you to go out. But then let's also say that you promise to volunteer with another group of friends. So those two things are vatting against your ability to learn. Now, they might be different times. Like you might promise somebody that you're going to help them volunteer at one time. Maybe that's at night. But maybe the thing you need to do, like going to that bachelor party, might be on a different day, but it's still taking up your weekend. And it's conflicting with your role to be the student. That's right, the student. So what are some other examples of role conflict? So I think the one I want to talk about the most, which happens to come up a lot, it's called the trolley problem. It's an experiment in which a person has to make a choice between two outcomes, causing a role conflict. So the simplest formulation of the problem involves a railway man watching a runaway trolley on a track headed for a collision course with several people or those who are incapable of moving out of its path. The railwayman has a choice to operate a lever and divert the trolley onto an adjacent track in which the trolley would go on to overrun a single individual. In the case, the individual is torn between two choices: to do nothing and passively witness the trolley running over several people, or to actively intervene and be directly responsible for the possible death of a single individual. This is an example of an intra-role conflict. The problem with this is that we realize that there is something we need to do, but we're not willing to make that choice. It's kind of like when we talk about artificial intelligence, right? Let's say you're driving a car, and you're driving the car, there's no AI involved, and suddenly somebody is in the street, okay? Somebody's in the street this way right here. Somebody's in the street to the left, somebody to the right. You know you're going to hit somebody. What do? Do you hit the person that is older? You hit the person that's younger? Who do you hit? I mean, you don't really want to make the decision. But what AI is starting to do is it's starting to figure out decisions that we probably don't want to make. And I think that's a big problem. Now, there's another one called a gender role conflict. This occurs in a situation where a person feels unable to meet the expectations of adhering to their assigned gender, such as male or female. This could be things like they are, let's say, a male at birth, but they just don't feel like they want to be a male. They want to act like a girl. Now, they might have organs in their body that would dictate that they're male, but of course they can have surgeries and things like that. But these are things they want to do because they have a gender role conflict. It can also happen on the female side. So a female decides they don't want to be female, they want to be male. And then they can have surgeries to basically impose that they are male, but really won't have the same benefits, right? And won't work. So this is an example of gender conflict, and occurs in individuals who identify with their biological sex, but sometimes find it difficult to cope with social expectations of their gender role. Now, that's a very hard thing to grasp, but that's a pretty big one that comes out all the time. You've got lots of things that can happen. When somebody, for example, is put into these situations, there is the actor, the individual subject, there's the role, many expectations on the individual subject arising out of his or her position, and there's the personality. Let's talk about employment. Let's say you're the supervisor, and your job is to make sure everyone is working at the best way possible, being efficient, being courteous, and making sure the job is done correctly the first time. Now, if you have one person that's working great, and a second person that's not, and a third person that's not, and you're a person that likes all of them, how do you handle that? Well, you have to realize that the decision to either terminate someone is not personal, it is just business. A lot of people can't handle the fact that they might have to fail before they succeed. Now, I don't mean permanently failing. I mean failing just for a moment. So if somebody has to fail for something that they've done, and then they want to go to do something else, they've got to fail. But we all know that, taking that medicine may not taste well or might not feel well, right? You've ever heard the thing, whether it's working, if there's no pain, there's no gain. Does that really mean something? I don't know. But if you understand that if you got to put the effort in and you got to work for it, you're going to be a lot more, how can I say, strict with yourself when it comes time for that piece of pie, because you know how much effort and what it took to lose that weight. You're not going to want to blow that, right? So that's an example of a role conflict situation. I want to have the pie, but I know that pie is going to make me fat, and I don't know if I can control myself. right? Let's talk about a relationship conflict. This is one that causes lots of problems. So, what is a relationship conflict? This can happen because of stress. This can happen because of financial reasons. This can happen because of things like how do you raise the kids? What religion should they have? Different things like that. Maybe there's a situation that causes another problem, such as a behavior issue that, although seems slight, is really starting to get under your skin, but you haven't really addressed it. Maybe it's a romantic issue where there's communication problems, and this can happen in platonic relationship too. Maybe there's disagreements about your leisure time and where you're spending. Maybe if it's with a partner there or someone you're dating, it's intimacy issues. Maybe you're not ready to go there, or you have a conflict. The other person wants you to go all the way, but you don't even want to go halfway. So we get a conflict. We can get conflicts with, as I said to you, finances, jealousy. We can get issues with trust issues. If someone doesn't trust you, that is a huge conflict. Let's think about the word I. If you're in an argument with your partner, try to resist the urge to constantly toss out you. You did this, you did that. Try things like I. Right now, I feel frustrated because there's food left on the plate instead of it being put in the sink. I feel annoyed right now because no one bothered to ask me what I wanted for dinner. Remember to be respectful, but when we use the I technique, it really helps us to discharge the situation and get people to, let's say, listen, because you're softening it, right? If you get a relationship conflict, realize it's not the end of the world, okay? One of the best things I like to do when somebody has this kind of a conflict is say, hey, look, Joe, hey, Mike, hey, Sarah, I understand that we both may not be agreeing about how much time we should be spending. I understand that. And I'm not saying that either of us is right or wrong. All I'm saying is that I just feel that I want to have some time my way, and I'm happy to have it sometime another way. I just feel like I'm being manipulated into something that I don't want. And I always try to make this a two-way street. Another thing could be if they're really getting hard, we can say, look, I understand you want it your way. And I know you keep trying to bully me into it. I'm done. So either we come up with a solution that's going to help both of us, or like, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want to hang with you anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. These sound like simple things. I think the biggest challenge for most people is that when we think about ending something, or we think about asking somebody something, we're afraid of how we're going to feel. Like if we end that relationship with that romantic partner, or even that platonic friend, we're afraid of what's going to happen when we say something like, hey, I'm done. I don't want to be your friend anymore. I can't put up with this anymore. Many people are afraid about, oh my gosh, where am I going to find my own friend? Like I can't go to Amazon and say, oh gee, where am I going to get a friend like this? I got to see if I can find a SKU and send it to me. No, you can't do that. Or let me go walk to the corner and see if I can find somebody to replace Joe. Can't do that either. So I think there's that feeling of loss and that feeling of hurt because you don't have a replacement. Let's say, for example, you had your computer, and for whatever reason, the computer stops working. Maybe it crashed. And so you can't just get that computer that took months to be customized for you in 24 hours. It might take a few months. So how do you resolve the conflict? I think you have to realize that this is all we can do right now. And what can we do to make this situation the best as possible? When we use statements like I understand that what I said might have not made you feel good. I understand that I'm a hard nose. I understand that I don't always say thank you to you. Now, this isn't me, I'm just making this up. I understand that you believe that you can just manipulate me, and you can't. I understand that right now you need something. And I also understand that nothing is going to happen until we first figure out how we can treat each other with respect. So, relationship conflict is a very big one. It can affect your sleep, just like other ones, but relationships have a direct ability to disconnect you from the path of your life, whether that's eating, whether that could be exercise, whether that could be education, whether that could be other relationships, withdrawal, whether that could be eating healthy, right? Or maybe it could be with developing negative habits, habits that could potentially put you in touch with the wrong people. Ladies and gentlemen, I have enjoyed talking with you tonight and this whole week about how to resolve conflict. The question is not if or when conflict will come up, but are you prepared to deal with it? Do you have the tools to deal with conflict? Most people, when they get conflict, they're going to scream and yell and just be like, I can't do this. Not a great way to handle it. If your way of dealing with conflict is going to harm, hurt another person, either physically, mentally, or spiritually, you got to find a better way to resolve conflict. And it might be you going to the gym and punching a bag. It might be going to a skeet shooting range and shooting at some, birdies, the clay birdies. It might be you finding an activity that you can do. Maybe that could be something like running, or it could be a variety of other things. It could even be a creative project. Sometimes when we work on a creative project, even though it's not anything that has anger, it has a way to channel our energy into a positive form. Ladies and gentlemen, I am, if you don't know by now, John C Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been an amazing privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic Friday evening, closing our week on April 26th. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be back with you guys tomorrow with a brand new master topic. I'll catch you guys real soon. Be sure to watch all this great content again. Visit BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. I'm going to catch you real soon. And remember, when conflict rears its head, don't run. Think. Better yet, have a plan. So if there is conflict, you can be proactive and not reactive. All right, guys, be well and have a great night.